Uncle Doug,
Here am I.
as we look around the heavens, as we are wont to do on this show, and we see a great panoply of bad ideas floating in the clouds.
Yeah.
Not all of those bad ideas have found their way to the dirt yet.
Unfortunately.
Now, we're doing what we can.
We're trying our best.
We're doing our part.
We're just three dopes in Utah, so it's hard.
But there is that ancient white person proverb that says a billion so-and-sos can't be wrong. So we occasionally go to the Garden of the Gods where we see what weeds still remain above ground.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about a god. Yes, not only is this god still believed in, but some trouble has erupted recently, and that's why I decided we must talk about this
In
god.
a first in religious belief.
Yeah, because religious belief normally just it's just all good things come from religion.
Why do you have to focus on the bad things?
I'm just trying to talk to the people.
All right. Well, what have you got for the people today?
Well, today, okay. Yes, we're going to go Hinduism.
Right. So we're going to do some Hindus. We're going to do some Hindon'ts.
It's the do's and don'ts of Hindon'tism. Look, let's just be real here. Polytheism is tricky. And when people of the same faith tradition are all allowed to choose which supreme god they want to worship most, and also what the rules are for that worship, there's going to be some, let's call it disagreement.
Yeah.
When, for example, you're researching for a podcast and you want to figure out where different gods in the Hindu pantheon line up in the hierarchy, or if there is a hierarchy, or why some gods seem to also be other gods, or why the hell every article seems to completely contradict the last one, it's easy to get confused.
It's a big tent, isn't
God,
it?
it must be exhausting to be a Hindu.
I just can't imagine. I don't get it.
Right.
It's a different world.
That's why they need billions of people to figure this out.
Well, I think the billions of people just further complicate the matter, actually.
Well, that's your opinion. That's one man's opinion.
It is. Look, so like a middle-aged noob trying to learn which Pokemon is super rare and which ones are so lame, one can end up feeling like a babe in the woods. So bear with me as we try to delve once again into that confusing world. The god we're looking at today is Ayyappan.
Ayyappan!
Yeah, I
It's
guess.
a crowd favorite.
Yeah, everybody, beloved by all.
Beloved by children everywhere.
Right, indeed. God apparently of growth, though if that's meant to be personal internal growth, I think recent occurrences may challenge that notion. We'll get to it. The story of Ayyappan starts when the childless king of Pantalam was walking through the forest and stumbled on a baby boy. You know how when you walk through a forest, sometimes you find babies?
They're just lousy with baby boys.
They're just...
Now, if the first thing he doesn't do after finding the baby boy is call the police, the rest of this story is really
He's the king.
trouble.
Well, he calls somebody. Okay. Unsure of what to do about this, and who wouldn't be, he took the kid to a local ascetic to ask for advice.
A local esthetician.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the kid maybe had some issues with an oily T-zone.
He's been lying
Right.
on the forest floor his entire life. He's probably going to have some skin issues.
Yeah. Anyway, an ascetic, for those who don't know, that's like a monk or somebody who studies, ethereal things. It's a lazy person.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
Someone who can't get a real job.
Right. So this ascetic told him to take the child home and raise him as his own. And then when the boy reached the age of 12, he would prick his finger on the spindle of a spinning wheel and fall into a deep sleep. No, wait, that's something else. That is a different story. I apologize.
Wait, I think I know this story.
No, in this story, when he reached the age of 12, the boy would reveal who he really was.
Okay. Like many of us do at age 12.
Right, exactly. It is kind of a thing.
Yeah.
The king and queen followed the advice and raised this child as their own, calling him Manikantha.
Catchy.
By the way, all of these pronunciations of the names are, I assure you, perfect.
Yeah.
Don't at me.
Right.
As he approached the age of 12, the king wanted to formally coronate Manikantha as the crown prince and heir to the throne. But an evil minister convinced the queen that the heir should be their younger, natural-born son, who happened to be an utter dimwit. And the minister assumed that if that ding-dong ascended to the throne, he could easily be led to do whatever the minister wanted.
I know this is a story of a god, but this is also the story of every royal family ever.
Yeah.
Right? There was the one capable, competent one that should probably be, if you're down with monarchy, you should probably be the king.
Right.
And then there's Eric.
Right.
Right? So...
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
So the minister convinced Queen Cersei, whoever that queen was, to fake being sick and insist that the only thing that would save her was tiger's milk.
Oh, Jesus.
Which the king, who apparently was the one who supplied the brains to the younger child, said, okay, and sent his 12-year-old Manicantha out into the forest to collect the remedy.
And this is the origin story of Charlie Sheen.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Boy, what a cautionary tale this is.
This definitely not Charlie Sheen. Because Manicantha returned from his venture actually riding a tigress.
Oh.
Thereby revealing that he was maybe not a normal young person.
Or just stupidly courageous.
Right.
Yeah.
And effectively so.
Yeah.
It turns out that this kid was deity, the son of Shiva, one of the three main gods of Hinduism,
Holy smokes.
and Mohini, a female avatar of Vishnu, who is also one of the three main gods of Hinduism.
Oh, this kid's connected.
So kind of a big deal.
Kind of a big deal.
Not
Big man on campus.
not beloved enough, of course, not to be just left on the ground,
Apparently.
but still son of some major
Heavy hitters. Heavy hitters.
Heavy hitters.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Heavy Hindu hitters.
Yes. Heavy Hindus. So, side note, how can a culture, this just occurred to me, how can a culture dominated by a religion that plays this fast and loose with the gender and sexualities of their gods be fucking homophobic and transphobic?
Well, that's an interesting point. And, I've been reading a bit about this because India just did away with, I think it was a 1915 law or 16, a British colonial law outlawing homosexuality in every form. The Indian Supreme Court just struck that down.
Yeah.
And there was a ton of conversation online about how that was a colonial construct.
Sure.
It was not the case
Yeah.
prior to British colonial. So
Who knows?
So we found
rule Britannia.
we found a downside to colonialism.
Weird.
Wow.
Weird.
Yeah, well,
Stumbled on it.
I mean, the scholarship is still.
It's still just look, talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah.
Discuss. Anyway, the king, duly impressed by his tiger riding boy, decided to build a shrine to his amazing son, who he was just sure would win all the football trophies now.
See, this is what happens to millennials,
Right?
right? Oh, you're so special. You ride a fucking tiger,
And then
right,
suddenly,
and then you get a trophy.
right, yeah. Everybody's,
This is why our predicament. This is the predicament we're in right now.
So the question was where to build the shrine. He had Manicantha shoot an arrow into the air to determine the placement, which apparently sailed 30 kilometers away.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if you guys have ever been in Boy Scouts and shot arrows, but finding an arrow that landed 30 meters away
Yeah.
is tricky.
Right.
It can be hard to do. It will take you 10 minutes. One that's 30 kilometers away is a horse of a different color. All I can say is I picture Lancelot's servant in Monty Python's Holy Grail. Message for you, sir. Or either that or the search party goes out and finds, a family in mourning after one of their kids is shot by an arrow, and one of them's like, yes, but where was he shot?
Right. What lucky Dalit was struck by the god's arrow?
Right, yeah. Can you look, I'm sorry for your loss, but where exactly was he in the forest? We have to build a shrine.
We have to build a shrine right on top of his clavicle.
Right, yeah. We'll pay for the burial. You guys are going to have to build the shrine. Anyway, that temple, or maybe not that temple. I really actually couldn't figure out if this was the actual temple or not. But one of the great temples, one of the holiest places in all of Hinduism, is Sabarimala. Nailed it.
Yep.
Located in the Periyar Tiger Reserve in the southwestern state of Kerala in India.
Yep.
It is one of the holiest sites in all of Hinduism, whatever the fuck that means. When you deal with Hinduism, you hear a lot about this is the holiest city in Hinduism. This is the holiest site in Hinduism.
But then again, somebody else has a different list.
It's like who decides this?
And what, do they pay less taxes or what?
What does it even mean?
Yeah, what do you get from it?
Well, there's no Hindu pope, right? There's no.
No, this is the problem with a decentralized religion. Nobody gets to have the final say on anything.
Right.
Anyway, what it means,
and that is what is not the problem about centralized religions.
Right.
Is they're awesome, one man, it's the rule of one man.
Right. My way or Yahweh.
Yeah, it's perfect. Yahweh.
So what it means in this case is that this temple, which is extant today, gets as many as 30 million people walking the short hike and ascending the 18 sacred golden steps to this temple annually. And that's only on the special days of the year. There's it's almost entirely visited on these certain holidays. Like there's one 2-week period and another holiday over here. It's a very small amount of time in which 30 million people visit this. So suck on those numbers, Ken Ham.
Yeah, I mean that's like a in India that's like a preseason minor league team game attendance, 30 million people.
No, it's actually a lot even for India. And it's even more impressive considering the fact that until this week, no women between the ages of 10 and 50 were allowed in.
What?
What an odd restriction, you might say to yourself. And you're right, it's a super odd restriction. But man, is it apparently an important one. So, why forbid women between those ages? Any thoughts?
Menstruation.
You guessed it. Every month they bleed out of their dirty, dirty vaginas. And
what fucking tips of dicks and menstrual blood the world over are they make people crazy.
They make people fucking insane.
Yeah.
And here's so here's the idea. Ayyappan, also known as Ayyappa, or as I mentioned before, Manikantha or Harihaptura, because nothing about Hinduism can be easy, is celibate.
Oh.
And apparently straight as fuck. So if a fertile woman were to come into his temple, dude would just lose his goddamned mind and, something.
Right.
And then you end up with a baby on the forest floor.
He's rather intolerant for the child of intersexed parents.
Yeah, right? Well,
yeah.
It's entirely unclear what they think would actually happen if he caught a whiff of that sweet, sweet, fertile lady bits.
Yeah, he might go berserk.
But we know for sure that it would be disastrous. So we have a problem because recently the Indian Supreme Court, all the way up in Delhi, so far away from here.
Yeah, totally.
They don't get the cultural context.
Those bureaucrats in Delhi.
Yeah.
They
don't care about us in flyover country.
They recently ruled that you can't ban the ladyfolk from this temple.
Good. Fuck that shit.
Well, yeah. I mean, good, I guess, but here's the problem. There has been violence.
Right.
Surprise.
Yeah, shocking, right?
Violence against women in India?
Who ever heard of such a thing?
Surely you jest.
The first couple of women have attempted to get to this temple. So far, they've gotten to the path, which is the farthest that any woman has gotten in recorded history.
Right. And then they were beaten or...
Rocks were thrown, people blocked their way, monks were sitting on the stairs chanting and keeping them out. It was mayhem. There were police on hand to theoretically help these women get to the thing, but the monks also locked the doors. Like, Nobody can get in.
You know, it's a good thing India has no real fucking societal problems. So
Right.
you can actually just get mad about absurd shit, right? Like this, that you can really prioritize what you're angry about in a cogent way.
The shocking thing to me is, okay, if you ask most Hindus, do you believe that this deity is a real being
Yeah.
that exists in reality?
Like Christians believe in Jesus.
Right. Many of them will say no. Of those who say yes, what the fuck do they think is going to happen? A deity can't maintain his own virginity? Like, how is that possible? How is it possible that a deity, someone of magic origins and containing magic within them,
Yeah.
would not be able to control himself when a lady person comes into his building?
Well,
And this is not the only shrine to this guy.
And I'm willing to bet that this is not the only place in the Hindu faith where women are not treated equally.
No, absolutely not. But I mean, that's starting to change, right? Like as we know, as this story points out, India, now, unfortunately, right now, India has a Hindu nationalist prime minister, Narendra Modi, and Hindu nationalism is strong happening there right now.
Right.
And it is just as shitty as the Christian nationalism that's happening in our country.
Right.
It is racist.
Yeah.
It is sexist.
And it's driven by religion.
And it's driven by, well, I mean, religion is the tool that they are using
to achieve power.
to whip up the panic, to whip up the anger, to whip up the hatred.
Boy, this truly is the worst timeline.
We when we had Andrew Copson from Humanist UK on the show,
Yeah.
we talked quite a bit about the Indian constitution and how India is of the kind of major world secular democracies. India has, in a way, been the most successful model.
They're great. But the paperwork is good.
The paperwork is good, but like we're finding in so many of these quote unquote secular republics, their welds are being tested pretty hard right now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and yeah, it's happening here, and it's terrifying.
And it's happening in Turkey, which was another example in his book Secularism.
Yep.
It's about to happen in Brazil.
Yeah, I don't know that Brazil was chartered as a secular democracy in the same way that India was, because India was a really brilliant model.
Yeah.
But look, if you build a fucking temple, I don't care if a weird virgin tiger riding boy fired a fucking arrow and it landed in 3 counties over. You build a temple, men, women get to go. I'm sorry.
I actually disagree with that.
Really?
Here's the thing. This is where my mind goes a little bit wonky.
Yeah.
Because if it's a private religion and you're just sort of building your own religion, you get to make whatever rules you want to make. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't force the Mormons to let anybody into their temple that they don't want to let in. But I think they're shitty for, like, I think it's shitty. But the thing is, again, Hinduism is not a centralized religion.
Yeah.
So I guess the government, like, for me, I don't want the government telling religions what to do.
Okay, but what about pre-1978, following the Mormon example? Pre-1978, when black people were not allowed to go through the temple.
Right.
Would you
I would say that the government has no right to tell them that they have to allow black people.
I disagree.
I think that that to me is a church-state separation issue, where the government shouldn't interfere in what the churches are doing, and the churches shouldn't interfere in what the government's doing. I think that it's shitty, and I think that I kind of love it, especially in a time like now,
right,
when a church is shitty to people, because then the people leave. Like when the Mormon church is shitty to gay people, gay people and people who love gay people start to wise up and they leave.
Yeah, but here's the frustrating thing is, and this is why, again, religion is such a poison, is you can't ban, say, black people from sitting at your lunch counter because you are, as a business, you are engaging in the public sphere, you are paying taxes and deriving benefits from that taxation.
Right.
If you engage in that, you cannot discriminate.
Yes.
That's the law as we have written it. and are currently testing it.
For businesses.
Yeah, for businesses. Churches get some special dispensation where they don't have to pay taxes. They get to discriminate all they want.
Yeah.
And even though they're not supposed to participate in the public sphere, they fucking are.
Right.
So, I mean, it just... How much more rarefied ground?
How much more space do
we
get?
have to give these people?
For instance, with the Mormon temple thing, black people can go, white people can go, men can go, women can go. Where I agree that there is a bright line between church and state is the church gets to decide in a colorblind way who is worthy of going. If you have to pass some kind of test, you've got to do the Mecca-Lecca-Hi, Mecca-Hi-Ni-O, and if you do that properly, then you get in. Yeah. Right? That is their business, I think. But if we're basically, by having religions in our space, we're subsidizing them because they don't pay their taxes.
Right.
So I feel, and they demand all, as Doug was saying, all kinds of shit from us. Imagine how it is in Hindu India.
Right.
How much space they fucking demand in the public sphere.
Right.
And I think it's absolutely appropriate to say, look, you can't, this is not how our society is constituted. You cannot say women cannot come into the space. Like all the Elks clubs and Alta clubs and all those places lost that argument, right?
Yeah, except that I feel like to me the fix for that is tax the shit out of them. Don't subsidize them as a thing, and let them, because frankly, there's got to be room. As much as I hate it, there's got to be room for bigotry of thought.
Yes,
and I think we should socially shame that,
right,
and not subsidize it with our not government subsidize it the way we are.
Yeah,
but I don't think that we should be dictating what. I think we can let religions be as anachronistic as they want to be, and I don't think we can dictate what their beliefs are.
Well,
through
where I agree with you is that what's scary if the government gets in the business of dictating what religions can and can't believe or can and can't do is we can never predict who's going to be running the government. Like right now, I would not want the government to have that kind of power.
Right.
3 years ago, I might have had a different thought process, or not, but now certainly not.
Well, yeah. What I'm saying is, I don't want the churches to be able to mess with the government, and I don't want the government to have anything to do with the churches. And then we can just pass our laws for society, and the churches all have to sort of coincide with those laws. But like, I just feel like if we make that line, as that wall of separation, as sturdy as Trump supporters imagine a wall between U.S. and Mexico, that can only help us. But the wall goes both ways. It prevents intrusion in both directions.
It's amazing how much we bend over backwards to accommodate the bigotry that is so endemic in religion. But
I mean, to me, that's a free speech issue. You're allowed to be a bigot. I'm going to shame you for it, and I'm going to treat you like shit about it.
You are absolutely free to be as big an asshole as you want.
Yeah.
But you're not free from the consequences that the world around you is going to provide you with.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway,
we got off track.
We did get off track. There's not much more to Ayyappan, so like we can just, God of growth for everybody except ladies who bleed.
Yeah.
Hooray! There you go, Ayyappan.
So, ladies, if you're in the southern state of Kerala, you might want to not go to that shrine.
Make a run for those 18 steps.
Right? Yeah. Charge in.
All right. Well, thanks. Let's put him back in his weird, spooky
celibate box.
Moving on.